Welcome everybody for this second OW2 open source webinar. So today, concerning the webinar content, so I will just introduce it very briefly because what is important is to give the floor to our invited speakers. So the first talk will feature Prestashop, the open source e-commerce platform, which is one of the well-known open source platforms in the e-commerce field. So it will be presented by Clément Désile, who is the leading, who is the technical leader of Prestashop. Okay, and then I will also give the floor to Allma. Probably you don't know the name of this project because it's a kind of code name. It has been funded in the frame of the European NGI initiative, Next Generation Internet. But Allma is about introducing, plugging LLM artificial intelligence tool into EOS, the well-known degooglised operating system for smartphones, which is brought to us by the E-Foundation and on the business side by Murena. So Gaël Duval from Murena will tell us more about Allma and hi Gaël on EOS.
Sorry for being late.
So just before I let Clément elaborate about Prestashop, just a few words about NGI. So for people who don't yet know it very well, NGI is a European initiative that can fund open source projects. It is very easy to apply. You just have a form to fill in. The current fund we are part of is led by the NLNet Foundation in Netherlands. You can obtain grants up to 50k euro, and there will be continuous open calls for the next 3 years. So you can reach the fund. I will put the link in the chat at nlnet.nl/commons fund. So this is the NGI Zero Commons fund. So now, next slide. Yes, just it was just also a short reminder about the previous open source webinar we had. So it was about Lemon LDAP NG and Open Food Facts. So it is also the occasion to remind everyone that NGI has been funding very useful commands on the software PCs. Open Food Facts is one of them. The E-Foundation EOS is one of them. We also have Software Heritage on board. We also have Mastodon. So NGI is a very useful funding scheme for the open source community in Europe. And now I will give the floor to Prestashop, to Clément, to tell us more about their open source commerce software platform. Yes, I forgot. I still forgot something. I thought it was in the end, but no, I will tell you about that afterwards. I prefer to let Clément elaborate now.
Thank you for the introduction. Can you hear me and do you see my slides?
Yes.
Okay, let's go. Yes, I'm gonna talk you today about Prestashop and about projects we build for the open source. Who am I? I'm Clément. I'm passionate about technology for a long time now. I started to work at PMB. It's a small company in France. It's an open source software, PHP based as well. Yes, I've joined Prestashop in 2020 after having worked in the medical world for almost 8 years, and I'm glad to represent open source today. What is Prestashop? Prestashop is the software. You might know it. It's PHP Symfony based. there is a company as well with services, and then the project, the open source project. First, the project has been founded a long time ago, in 2007. It's been running on more than 300,000 stores and counts a lot of community members, and still have a lot of release activity. We are releasing 8.2 next week, and probably at the beginning of next year, the version 9 of Prestashop will be released as well. We count in the company more than 300 employees, and we are leading the e-commerce in Europe and LATAM, which we are very proud to build successful stories on top of an open source system. On the project side, we have a lot of contributors and a lot of contribution, as you can see here. A lot of merge of pairs that are submitted, and so it also counts a lot of work on the open source team to take in account all of this new incoming work in the code base. Also, we are part of OW2 for administration, for technical part, and for also events. And so we are glad to be here also to speak a bit more about our project. We are an e-commerce software platform, which is at the core of different interactions. If you consider Linux as a software, as a platform, you would also have this kind of system. You can have different packaging of Linux. You can have different packaging of Prestashop. You can also have extendability. You can have modules with Prestashop. So a lot of different actors are basing their business model on top of Prestashop. They can sell services. They can sell modules. They can also have being a bit in the middle of the two. We also have hosting offers, different theme and UX, user experience services. So all in all, it's more than just a product, even an open source product. It's a whole ecosystem that makes the project work. So to make clear the distinction, we have the Prestashop company that sells its services, and the Prestashop project that has all related information regarding the open source project. I'm the manager of a team, but I've been working for this product for about 4 years now. It's named CloudSync, and I'm now trying to dig in more about this technical stuff and to explain you what is my day-to-day work with my team, and what kind of difficulties we are struggling with, and how are we thinking about managing them. CloudSync is a module that is installed on Prestashop. So you get it here. It's called PS Evenbus. It's the name of the module, and this module is kind of a door that is used by the CloudSync product to access to the store. The merchant will install one module. Let's say Prestashop Checkout, a module responsible for selling and making payments on a Prestashop system. It will install PS Accounts, which is a module responsible for managing authorities and giving rights, and also install PS Evenbus. This will allow the company to know more about the stores. Once we start to know more about the store, we are about to intervene to provide more support to the merchants and to the whole ecosystem. We can call it a change data capture system. It means that when we synchronize data to the cloud, you can imagine it as a backup system for your hard drive disk. You would not do the full synchronization every day, otherwise you would clog the whole system. Therefore, we use initial sync procedure that takes everything And then we have delta that is propagated over time. We call it incremental synchronization. And so CloudSync is calling the shop every once and again. One key difficulty here is that Apache server does not handle requests more than 30 seconds. So when you have a big catalog of products to synchronize, it would take, let's say, 1 hour to synchronize it. So you have a lot of different pagination systems that has to be implemented on the way. The data is then pushed, and also we can have live notification for the incremental sync to be more lively and have kind of 5 minutes delay between an action on the shop and the data in CloudSync. Why do we need it? We need it because we have plenty of modules that are available on the add-ons marketplace of Prestashop. But some modules require a lot of data to be fed in, and the Prestashop is meant for selling things. It's an e-commerce platform, but it can be struggling to do both selling and both analytics. So moving some part of the business outside is key to be able to scale a merchant experience. On the expose side, we have what we do with the data. We can share it with partners and solution providers with the agreement of the merchant. We can also provide a tech console front end, which is a key part of CloudSync to help providers, module developers to understand more the performance of their modules and how they behave or how they are installed on the stores. And also we have data analysts at Prestashop that are used to manage and understand the whole data we are collecting. Just to keep things clear, it's not personal data, it's only business data, what is sold, what is the catalog, and so on. Today, this is a data-intensive application. We have more than 40K stores that are synchronized every day this way, and 2.5 terabyte of data in PostgreSQL, so really a lot of data, and a lot of events as well, a lot of events that are coming to the system to notify for changes on what happened. This is why we are projecting a new project. This is PG Pancake. This project is meant to be an open source library based on PostgreSQL, and I will get more into details. And we submitted this project for NGI funding. If you are a developer yourself, you would know how this works. For a web application, you have the user that makes some actions, some commands on an application, and these actions are given to a database for write operations, and also you have read operations. The problem is when you scale your application, if it scales really, really high, you will have such issues with the bandwidth, and your database will start to be the single point of failure of your system. In that case, you would start to make queues to try to delay and batch the writes and try to make cache for the user to retrieve the information a bit less. If you are experienced in the domain, you know this solution is not scalable. It's at some point blocking, and if your sales come to your desktop and say, what's happening? We are not making business anymore. You can only say, oh, I will try to make the queue bigger and the cache bigger, but you will struggle at this point. One solution for this is to segregate read and writes, and this is called CQRS. This is also very interesting in a microservices environment. So you can, it gets easier for you to route the data from one end and route from another end. This implementation relies on an event store. So every action that arrives on the application is transferred to an event on your system. And then this event can be used to be projected to a view model. And so you have decorrelated this read and writes this way. Something to tell about this is more about theory about events. You might have read blog posts about event-based application or hype around events. Often they are focusing on event streaming. Let's say Kafka, let's say RabbitMQ are technologies that allows you to implement event streaming in your application. But this is not event sourcing. It means that events are just propagated through other services. My meaning by event sourcing here is that we want to be able to store the whole information, the whole knowledge about your users, about your assets within the events, so you can replay all the time the full history of what happened on your system. Why do we do that? Is if you are working in a big team, you would go for microservices. And if you have 100 microservices running in your Kubernetes cluster, you will struggle with something else, is understanding what's failing when something fails. And observability is a key asset here. When you have events, you know when it occurred and how they behave, how they are translated to some business use cases. So event sourcing is key as well. It's not just about data handling and scaling. It's also about communicating in teams and connecting services together. Lastly, we are already working with PostgreSQL, as I told you, with a multi-terabyte database right now. We want to continue to dive in with PostgreSQL. Because it's easier for monitoring to get just one database in a system rather than having multiple specialized databases. So PostgreSQL here intervene as a Swiss knife for our business applications. What do we have now? We have this first part of the slide with Event Store database, Event Store DB, which is an open source database. We are currently using this database for a lot of appliances at Prestashop. We are happy with it, and until the point people do not know very well how to use it, and also that we are struggling with the monitoring systems. It takes really a lot of efforts to maintain multiple databases, and we want to have more flexibility. And for this, we want to rely only on one database for, let's say, PostgreSQL. The other aspect for this decision is that we have, it's difficult to find an Event Store managed database. You can get one with the Event Store DB team itself. But for cloud providers as well, PostgreSQL is much more known and easier to use. Lastly, Event Store is bare bone database. You still have to build a lot of logic bricks on top of Event Store. So the idea came to the mind of the teams to build a non-Event Store on PostgreSQL. So implementing the same pattern, but with a well-known database, and also having all this sugar already available in the library. So we have the exact same usage, but with a different implementation and a different, it fastens the way we can dive in and implement the solution. So PG Pancake, what is it? It will be a JavaScript library supporting TypeScript. So typing is very important also for events. And we also want to provide it to PHP ecosystems. If you look back at what I began to say at the very beginning, Prestashop is meant to be interconnected with a lot of different services. So providing an event sourcing into Prestashop itself is a long-term destination, but very likely to be used with such library. So this project started for all the key assets I just told you about, and we are eager at developing it in next time. So we expect NGI to fund this project, and it will be, of course, available on GitHub for everyone to contribute to. I'm done. If you have any question, I know it was a bit technical, but I'm happy to answer to them. So.
Okay, so if there's no question, at least I will ask just a quick one about the NGI process. Do you have some news already about your NGI submission or not?
Not right now.
Okay.
Still waiting for some answers on this. Yeah.
Okay. I think that NLNet was somewhat overflooded by proposals. The NGI is reaching a great success. Probably we are doing a too good job at communicating for it. Thank you very much, Clément. If there's no more question, I will pass the floor to Gaël Duval.
Okay. Hi everyone. Nice to be here to present you the Allma project. So Allma is a NGI funded, NGI search funded project that we have started 1 year ago, actually. Just a few words about EOS. So what is EOS? EOS is a de-Googled operating system that is has a big focus on privacy. We want to give our users the opportunity to escape the permanent personal and professional data collection that is operated all the time by the big techs. So basically, EOS doesn't send any of your personal data to Google, and we're also adding a lot more features like our advanced privacy module that is able to cut trackers from mobile applications. Trackers are like ads, but for mobile application, and they are a very good way to for many third parties to know in real time about your smartphone usage, what application you are using, how you are using it, when you are using it. So it's really a nightmare in terms of privacy. So the project has made good progress for the past years. We have reached close to 50,000 monthly users now. EOS is available both for free that you can install on more than 200 different smartphones models, and also you can purchase a smartphone with EOS pre-installed. So today you have basically two choices. Either you go to marina.com and you choose your smartphone and with EOS. So we partner with some hardware manufacturers like Fairphone, Gigaset, TerraCube, and others. And then you receive ready-to-use smartphones with EOS. And also, since the end of last year, you can also purchase your pre-installed Fairphone with EOS directly at fairphone.com, only for Fairphone 4 and soon for the Fairphone 5 as well. EOS is not ignoring the artificial intelligence trend, and in particular the large language model trend. We think that we cannot ignore this because this is going to become a default feature in most of our smartphones more and more. But the problem is that, so just a reminder, large language model, it is ChatGPT and GPT. So the benefits for users is that you can create very easily some conversational assistants for answering general questions, but also for scheduling and making everything, adding task in your calendar or many things actually, and probably some things that we do not imagine yet. It's able to deal with a large module of text also, to summarize the text, to translate the text, to give you some insight about a set text. It's also able to make interaction with the machine in a more natural way, intuitive and human-like ways. But the challenge of large language model is first about privacy, because today large language models are mainly created and operated by the big techs, unfortunately. So the leader is OpenAI, but of course you have also Google, Microsoft, Apple now, and a few others. And then when you are using a large language model, you are sending a lot of your data to those models, and nobody really knows what they are doing with your data. So they can probably learn about what you do, which is not a good thing for your privacy. But they can also probably train some models to improve those models. So this is really a concern, and this has been the trigger to start the Allma project, because we think that at least we need to figure out if there are some opportunities to have something as a large language model that can run on a smartphone without all the privacy concerns we have today. And if not, we have to figure out if there is a route to make this happen in the future, because we think that, like for many other topics related to privacy, this is not acceptable that all users on this planet send all their personal data to the big tech without any control and constraints and control. So we have those privacy concerns, but not only. Today we see that most of those models are trained in the US, for instance, and there are some cultural and linguistic biases. The main reason actually is lies in the training data, because those models are hardly trained on massive amounts of data like Wikipedia, and the primary sources for all those data are US based probably. So this is reflecting into some answers and behavior in this large language models. For instance, I've pasted a little exchange I had with ChatGPT. This was one actually of the first test I did with ChatGPT when it appeared a long time ago, 2 years ago. I asked it what has been the first ever commercial personal computer. And the first answer from GPT is to say that it was the Altair 8800, which was introduced in 1975. But the thing is that we all, as French people, we all know that the first ever commercial microcomputer ever was the Micral N, which was introduced in 1973, a very good year. And this is not the first answer from the model. But when you ask it, was the Micral N the first ever commercial personal computer, it will answer very dumbly, yes, the Micral N, introduced in 1973, is often considered the first commercially available personal computer. So it knows about it. It could have answered that it was actually the first one, but as a cultural bias, his first answer is to an American computer, the famous Altair 8800. So that was just an example, but of course there are many other examples like this, just to show that we, as Europeans or Americans or other people on the planet, we don't often see the things the same way, and we don't have the same story in mind, and it's not easy to write a common story. But all this at some point ends into some large language model. So of course I think, and I'm not the only one, I think that as a European, we need to have some language models that are trained on European mindset and an accepted history that we all share. So that is one of the other challenges. So what did we do for this Allma project? The first thing is that we did some research because it was not clear, in particular, if there was some open source large language model available for use 1 year ago. But there are a few ones, and we wanted to know if they were efficient compared to the big ones like GPT, for instance. So we did a big comparison matrix of many different language models, small ones and big ones, and on various criteria, actually, both in terms of technical criteria, but not only. In the benchmark, we also did some tests, like some scientific tests, and we didn't invent the test. For instance, one is asking the model some grade school science questions. Another one is to evaluate its efficiency to answer, to have some reasoning capabilities, or to understand if a sentence makes sense or doesn't make sense. One of those tests was to see if the model was likely to generate false answers. And we did all those benchmarks, and we actually did a big matrix that is available publicly now. Where is my this kind of matrix? So you can see the rows are the models. So Phi2, Mistral, Falcon, etc. And in the columns, you have some technical criteria, like PAR, which is the number of parameters that the model is using, the language that it is supporting, the memory it's using, the general average answer time, and then at the end of the tab, you can see all those benchmark that I mentioned earlier, like grade school science questions, how likely it is to generate false answers, etc. And so we compared big models and small ones. And in the end, we found that one model was very interesting for us. It's called Phi2. Maybe we should say Phi2 in English. I don't know. And surprisingly, it's a Microsoft model. It's been designed by Microsoft, and it is open source because it is published on MIT license, and it has proven to have a quite strong performance in efficiency with a reasonable memory usage when you are using it. Reasonable here is 12 gigabytes of memory, so it's not small, but and pretty good performance. So that was the result of this test, and then we asked ourselves actually if it would be possible to use this model on a smartphone, because all those tests of course have been done on a personal computer with a GPU, but now it's a very different story when you want to run this on a smartphone, and obviously it's impossible today to run a big model on a smartphone. But we have been able to use this feature model on a smartphone running iOS. We had first to quantize it to 4 bits to reduce the footprint in terms of memory and CPU usage. And then we have been able to implement this using llama.cpp, which is an open source library which lets you run a large language model on single CPUs. And then we have been able to implement a very simple assistant using this small but efficient model, which is capable to understand simple requests in natural language, and then to perform some tasks like fetching the weather and displaying the weather. You can ask it to launch an application on the smartphone. You can ask it to add an event to the calendar. So in the end, we have been very pleased to be able to make this proof of concept because it was not sure that it would work, but in the end it works. The main issue we still have with the smartphone is, even with this quantized model, we still have some time to answer that are like 30 to 1 minute between the moment you ask something to the model, to the assistant, and when you get an answer. So for a large language model running on a smartphone, it's pretty efficient and fast, but for human, waiting for 30 seconds or more to get an answer, it's not something we expect in standard usage today. So it works on one end. It's open source, so it's good because we can modify it. We can train it on different models, data set, and we can improve it. But on the other hand, realistically, it's not yet ready for the smartphone because it's still too slow. So one of the reasons probably is that we should have it run on a GPU on the smartphone, but the hardware is not probably yet ready for this. But we hope that it will be soon easier to use GPUs to run LLMs on smartphones. So we are pretty confident on this aspect. I won't show you the video because you know the demo effect is happening all the time. So I prefer to paste here the link to the video if you want to test. It will be also in the last slide, so you don't have to rush too much, or maybe I can even paste the link in the chat. I will paste this link up. So this is the comparison, and okay, so I'm pasting this on the chat so it's easier for you. And then you can see the video for this assistant. And of course, this project is open source and all the source code is available at the same place. So feel free to play with the source code, to recompile and to make your own build. And if you want to contribute, we will be happy to talk with you about this. So what else? So what's next? So now there is a question for today and for us, more specifically for iOS, because we would really like to offer some LLMs to our users, but we see that locally it would be an ideal case because we are sure that the data will stay on the smartphone, and it's really the best level of privacy we can guarantee to our users. But we are still limited by the current smartphone hardware to make this realistically usable. And then remotely, the benefits is that you get much better performance because it's running on the cloud somewhere, using a lot of energy and killing the planet, but that's another question. But of course, the challenge is that you have significant privacy risk. You don't really know how your data is used, if they are connecting yourself, profiling yourself using your data, etc. It also depends on the network quality, but today it's a little bit less important. So one privacy solutions we have for using remote large language model. The first one is to make a proxy of LLM request to the LLM servers. So the user device would connect through a proxy to the final LLM server to get answered. And the benefit of this is that you can easily make this anonymous. So the LLM server will still have your data, can still process your data and make some things of it. So if you give too many details about what you're doing, probably it's not good, but at least it doesn't know that it's you. It cannot really track you and make some association between you and your data, which is often the goal of all the ads brokers, etc. So it's better, but not perfect. On the long run, one big hope with large language model on servers or anywhere, but to actually protect you in terms of privacy, is something that is called fully homomorphic encryption. And it is a science actually, because there are a lot of people working on this, which allows some large language model to work on encrypted data instead of fully readable data. So you first encrypt the data you want to process with your model. Then you send this to the fully homomorphic encrypted large language model. It processes your data and then it gives you the result in return, and then you can decrypt the result and get your final result. So this is working. This is not only theory. Today this is working, but this is using a lot of extra resources, and so it's not ready yet. But probably in the future, it's going to be something that we can not ignore, because it really has some great benefits in terms of privacy protection. There is even some startup working fully on this. One is Zamad, I think, which is working exclusively on fully homomorphic encryption. You can have a look. It's super interesting. So today, one thing we could do is a kind of hybrid approach, which would be to run some very small models, specialized models locally on the smartphones to make some basic tasks with full privacy, because all your data stays on the smartphones. And then for all more complex tasks and accessing more knowledge, we could use some remote servers through an anonymized proxy. So this is one option for us today. We are continuing to explore the best possible approaches to make those powerful features available to our users. Yes, that's it, I think. So on the last slide, I have put a few links. I'd like to thank you, Stypox, for his great contribution to this project. Stypox was made a great personal assistant for Android. And thank you NGI Search also for the support. And if you have any question, you can ask me now or after through the social networks or not social or email or anything. Any question? I see some question on the chat. Okay, I didn't know EOS. Thank you. You're welcome. I hope you will enjoy. Are you managing chunking for large documents, assuming docs are short? I think I understand what you mean, but I don't think this is really applying to this proof of concept. We have, since it doesn't manage, well, it's not using processing large documentation. But maybe I didn't understand well.
Okay, so if there is no specific question, yes, I have it's not a question, but it's a suggestion about more secure smartphones to protect privacy. What I would like to have on my smartphone is a second emergency PIN code, so that if I type this one in, everything is destroyed. Because if someone threatens me and I am forced to give my PIN code, I would give the second one.
Yeah, yes, that is the nuke PIN code. We call this this way. Actually, it was in our roadmap, and we would like to do it, but it's not that simple to implement for some reason, because if we just erase everything, it can put you in a very bad situation. Imagine that someone wants to access your smartphone and you type the nuke PIN code and everything gets wiped. If the guy realizes that you have voluntarily wiped everything on your smartphone, you can run into troubles in some places in this world. So instead, we would probably like to switch a profile or to erase your personal data, but replace this with some something that looks like normal, actually. But yes, we have this in the roadmap.
Okay. Fine. Thank you very much, Gaël.
You're welcome, Pierre-Yves.
So I will take back the presenter right.
Thank you, everyone.
For a short time. Just to announce our next events and where you can meet either us. In fact, the OW2 will be represented as SFSCon. We won't be there ourselves, but there are some. There will be a kind of OW2 booth that will be held by partners in Italy, and also some NGI projects testimonials will be featured there, including on my disk, and also spare cores, I think. And I would like to thank Gergely. I see him on the list of participants of this webinar. So Gergely from SpareCores. People should have a look at sparecores.com. There are amazing statistics about cloud providers with benchmarks and so on. It's quite amazing. And also the other one is OSXP open source experience in Paris. So it's a very important event for us. We always, every year, we have a kind of village booth there. So you will be able to meet, of course, OW2, but also the city of Paris, which is one of our prominent members in France. Murena also will be there, so you will be able to meet sorry, to meet Gaël and his team there. And also there will be some NGI testimonials. So of course, including Allma that you just saw, but also Datafari from France Labs. So I also see that Cédric from France Lab is there in the list of people present this evening. So thank you very much for attending. Okay, Christian, I know, Christian, that you will be at OS6P, sure. you never miss any OS6P, I think. Thank you very much, and see you either at one of our events or maybe at our next webinar. Of course, if you have questions, it is still time to ask, but I think if people have questions, they would have asked them before. But if you have questions about NGI or OW2, you can ask them, or you can either reach out to us and ask them by email or as you like.